Hello everyone and welcome back to the 13th episode of the Road to FIDE Master series, in which I will cover the 4th round of the Chess Eagles Chess Festival. Hopefully the 13th will not be unlucky, right? And I mean that if you saw the thumbnail, I hope that you expect some fireworks. There will be there, so don't worry about it, the game will be an amazing one, so please watch it all, you will be not disappointed. And with that, let's just jump straight into it, right? So, first game of the day with white pieces, second game of the day overall, so pretty short turnaround. However, I was preparing against Miłosz Bury for a few times already this year. It was not a preparation for myself, but for my students, therefore I knew very well what he is trying to play, what he usually plays, and I decided to switch from usual e4 to d4 because I wanted to play against his Nimzo structure, in which I saw that he mostly tries to continue with castling and then perhaps playing d5. So I was ready for such combination. I was ready for the combination of castling and b6, b6 and d5 perhaps, many of them, because all of those moves you have to include. Perhaps also against d5, c5, I looked through all of those options. The one I didn't look through was c5 and castling, so it was a little bit a surprise for me, but I felt like I was preparing well for this game, meaning that perhaps my opponent chose the move order that was not enlisted really in the, let's say, top Lichess opening book stuff. So I felt, okay, maybe there is something odd about it. Am I willing to risk something and like go to exploit it? Maybe not, but I can simply try to just completely go away from the opening book, let's say, and I've decided to take on c5. I'm not sure if it's the best objective approach, but I felt like taking here would ask my opponent a question: how do you want to really recapture the pawn? I felt like he might go for a move like knight a6, after which I was planning to go for such line, more or less, allowing me perhaps to get the bishop pair. So whether I would take here and play bishop d3 or maybe queen c2, perhaps at this point I will think about it, but the point was that I would be getting nice space advantage on the queen side and the bishop pair, so overall I would be more than happy with such outcome. And he took with the bishop, with which I was also fine, because I felt like at this point I can simply try to fianchetto my bishop on g2, not allowing him to do so on b7, at least not as for now, and after he really tries to do it, I can simply castle and we get into such position. I was happy with the outcome of the opening because I really wanted to play potentially against his isolated pawn structure, because I felt like d5 might be incoming, but at this point I played inaccurately, I would say, because I was not sure how to resolve the situation on the queen side. Should I really go slowly for like b3, bishop b2 setup, calmly waiting for d5 to occur, or rather I should just try to go with a3, b4 more aggressively, asking opponent a question: how is he going to deal with my queenside pressure? And the problem was that a3 is not really pressurizing the opponent so much, mostly due to the fact that he can play bishop e7, the move that I underestimated, missed maybe really, and I felt like, oh wow, very good move. Why is it a good move? Because if I want to play b4, I want to do it with a tempo, and as of now, b4, if I play it, it's not coming with a tempo, meaning that it's black turn now, and they can try to first of all attack it like that, and second of all, because I lifted my pawns to a3, b4, this c4 pawn might be a weak one actually, because I don't have this very nice looking pawn chain like that. So not only b4 might be a weakness, but also c4 might be a weakness. So in here, instead of admitting to my mistake, because I felt like a3 was indeed a mistake, and maybe playing b3, simply saying, okay, I lost a tempo, I lost a pawn chain, but at least I will not be harassed on my weaknesses, I decided to just go through with my bluff, let's say. And I believe I am bluffing my opponents too much, because it's not paying off that well. But it is what it is. I played b4, after which my opponent replied with queen c7, and after bishop b2, I was really worried about a5 move, you know. The only thing that I've calculated, and the only like thing that was holding the position for me in terms of not losing the pawn or being strategically much Worse was the fact that after a5 I can play knight b5, attack the queen. If queen goes away, then I can try to play rook b1 with the idea of, for example, bishop c3. So if my opponent wants to take on b4, he has to do it now. And the thing is that if he takes once and then twice, well, how does he take it, right? With the bishop or with the knight, I don't really care that much, because either way I will perhaps just simply grab on f6, grab on d7, and I am not losing a pawn, and actually I'm getting some kind of an activity. So thankfully to this one specific line I would be holding against a5 move, but I still would not be feeling amazingly due to the fact that I felt like at the end of the variation I was not getting very high chances of winning the game. And then my opponent went with his hand over the a pawn and he moved it to a6. And I was like, why? Why did you do it? I mean, in here, due to this problem, you should be trying to basically find some activity, find some active play for yourself, not a6. What is a6 even for? So I did not like his choice. I simply continued development because I felt, okay, at least I have now the tempo to maybe prophylactically defend the c4 pawn. And at this point he went with rook a to c8, which seems like a normal developing move. But obviously at this point already, with rook here and queen there, I started looking to the knight jumps. First to b5 actually, because I wanted to play here, so that maybe if he goes there I can plant the knight on d6. If he takes, I can then put some pressure to the knight. Whether or not it's okay for me, it's debatable, because I felt like it's not achieving much. And after this, feeling this assumption, okay, I did not achieve much, bam, this idea came up to my mind, like, why knight b5? Play knight d5. The idea is very similar one, but structurally in terms of concrete tactics, it's much better for me. I am hitting the opponent into the important spots, and on b5 I was really not. So I'm asking opponent a question, how is he going to deal with this situation? And I believe that queen d8 might be an interesting option for him, allowing me to take here, allowing me to take here. He would have to recapture with the pawn to not allow to lose a pawn on d7. And at this point I felt like I gained finally some initiative because of the worse pawn chain on the opponent's side, but for the price of the bishop pair, which was quite nicely looking. Therefore I felt like I might be better here. So I like this position, I would have went for it, but my opponent decided to accept the offer, accept the sacrifice, and I then just took on c6. At this point it's very hard for like a human being to decide how to play, because bishop c6, that computer likes the most, is a very counterintuitive move, mainly due to the fact that you are leaving yourself an isolated pawn, which will be a weakness forever. So in long term it's never a good decision to do that, but there are no good alternatives. That's the problem for the opponent. If he decides to take with a pawn, all of a sudden my pieces are placed in the best way possible, because my two bishops are amazing ones, as usual. Rook is hitting the pawn, and the knight from e2 actually can get some game time, let's say. Knight d4, hitting the pawn. The question is how the opponent should defend it. And I'm not really caring that much about the pawn itself. I also care about the f5 square that I can jump to, attack here, and here, and here. And all of a sudden, just because of this knight d5 move, the position has opened and I am showing the potential of my amazing bishop pair, while opponent has to resolve his issues. Does he want to protect the c6 pawn? If so, how to do it? Very hard to navigate it. And basically, just like that, he fall apart. How? Rook fd8, pinning the knight, logical. Then I develop the queen, not even allowing c5 anymore because I have the pressure to the b7 bishop. For those reasons, opponent has to think about whether should he try to, I don't know, defend the pawn like this, or maybe defend the bishop, or maybe close the diagonal. He went with the latter option, so knight d5, but now I have knight f5. As I've said, there the knight is perfectly placed, I'm hitting all the crucial spots. How is black going to react? And at this point, objectively, black is already lost. You wouldn't say that 5 moves ago, but at this point, after this sequence, black has no good move. Why? Well, because if he plays bishop f6, I can at least just try to trade deliver a fork and be much better materially and so on. Obviously g takes f6 will never work because I can then simply try to go there and checkmate within few moves, right? So that's very forced. So like maybe bishop f8, and opponent played that. And at this point, if you can tell from the EVAR bar, I'm checkmating the opponent, but my opponent did not see that because it's such a brilliant sequence, the one that you would not expect, because you feel like, okay, bishop went here, it is protecting the g7 pawn, so what can happen? Well, knight h6 may happen. And what's the idea? The most obvious one is after g takes h6, I have queen g4, the king is completely closed and attacked, bishop is the only lonely defender, but then I can simply after bishop g7 take the bishop and win the game, right? So that's one variation. What's the other one? Initially I thought about knight h6 move in a way that I would instantly take on f7 with the knight, deliver the fork, be happy about my material gains and then win the game. But then I've spotted an amazing sequence, the one that you are always looking for in chess, which is the Smothered Mate. I played queen f7 with the idea of checkmating opponent on the g8 square. If the bishop moves, opening up the rook, I will then checkmate the opponent on the g7 square because bishop is responsible for protecting it. And if the bishop will not move, I will checkmate here, but knight e7 is the only choice for the opponent. But guys, anyway, I go with queen to g8. Why? Well, idea is simple. If he takes, I now deliver this beautiful, beautiful checkmate. But as you may remember, in the round number 4 of the first tournament of the playlist, which is the episode number 4, my opponent, after seeing such a hammer blow, unexpected move, allowed me to checkmate him. This opponent, however, after seeing queen g8, he just resigned, guys, and I was so frustrated. You know, you don't have such opportunity quite often, even if you play a lot of the chess games, because how often do you really go for smothered checkmates? So I was so happy that I can deliver it, but then my opponent resigned, so I was feeling frustrated. And even though the game itself was a very beautiful one, I couldn't be any more mad, let's say. But well, after some time obviously I was happy too, but yeah, a missed chance to deliver such a checkmate always hurts. It is what it is. Win is a win, 22 moves, a crushing result, so I'll take that anyway. And with that, well, what can I tell you guys? 4 out of 4, quite a decent result. Let's also switch a scene for the review. We'll see how it went. 97, finally proper accuracy, so I will take that all day long. We did not go even into an endgame, so always feels nice. And yeah, having such a win right after the third round, which was also a nice one, gave me the confidence boost that I needed with 4 out of 4, claiming the leader spot. So one more round to go that day, because there were as many as 3 rounds. So game number 5 will be out tomorrow. Stay tuned for it. If you enjoyed today's game with 3 brilliant moves that I will show you once again, one brilliant, second brilliant. Okay, where's the third one? Here, knight d5. Okay, so the thumbnail is accurate. If you enjoyed all of them, please give a like, a comment and a subscription. 3 tasks for you for 3 brilliant moves from me. And with that, thank you a lot for watching. We'll see each other tomorrow. Bye bye.